All right, everyone, thank you for coming out on National Signing Day to Texas A&M Kingsville. And without further ado, the head coach of Javelina football, Daren Wilkinson. Coach, take it away.
All right, let me get my iPad, my notes set up here. Appreciate you guys taking the time to come on out and listen to us talk about our graduate or our signing class and the work that we've done. You know, recruiting is one of those deals, and I like to talk to our team about there's different seasons in the year, and you know you start talking about the fiscal year. Fiscal years are different, you know, different times for different organizations. This really is the end of our fiscal year, where we put 2017 to bed, and obviously this is the class of 2018. But you really start with the next go around, and so this is a big relief. It's like you know, tax attorneys and CPAs, and you know, in April they get all fired up that April 15th time when they don't have to do taxes for another year, and that's kind of how we are as a coaching staff, where it's just kind of a sigh of relief when you get this thing done, especially you know, once the morning starts and we start getting those guys signing, and you know, it used to be a time where you fax things. These kids don't even know what fax machines are anymore, and so you know, all they got to do is take a picture, hit send on their text message, and it magically gets to us, and it's a lot easier than what the old days used to be. In the old days, just really about 2 or 3 years ago. Before I get started, though, I'd like to throw out a few thanks to people that really, without their help and without the things that, and I'm going to miss some people, I know, but there's a ton of people that make this job in terms of recruiting to Texas A&M Kingsville doable. You know, start at the top, Dr. Talent, Dr. Gines. I'll call you Doctor now. Didn't have to do that last year. Dr. Talent, Dr. Gines. You know, I'd like to thank them for giving us the resources that really make this process where we can do it right. You know, when I took this job, one of the things I talked to Scott about is the recruiting budget, and what it was not nearly enough in my mind to get the work done that we needed to, where kids came into campus and we were able to go out to places and leave campus and go see them, where we made it a first-class operation with recruiting. And that was one of the things that they took care of my coaching staff with, is allowing us to have a little bit more of a recruiting budget to get out and do this thing right, and we bring them on campus and have the type of meals and do the type of things we do with them, and so I appreciate that. Some corporate people. You know, we really could not do our recruiting without Phil Neese and Chevrolet. You know, they give us our recruiting cars, where it saves us you know, a ton of that money that I was just talking about, where we go out and you know, through their corporate sponsorship, we go out and use their cars to drive around. Blake Fullenwider Ford up in Beeville, they do the same thing. El Corral Restaurant. You know, every weekend we'd bring kids down from Houston, San Antonio, up from the valley, wherever we were bringing them from, and the first meal we wanted them to have a taste of was some South Texas fajitas. All right, and that was, we wanted them to taste what South Texas is about, and El Corral helped us out with that. Tito and Chico and family, the Villarreals over at Big House Burger and Big House Barbecue. Unbelievable people in terms of their belief in the vision that we have as an athletic department, and specifically the football program. You know, another corporate sponsor that did a great job is ABC Cleaners. You know, every either Sunday night or Thursday night, our first meal, we would eat in here, and you know, they took care of all our cleaning for us, and so appreciate that. Other thanks, people on campus. Joe Biedron does a heck of a job, and probably doesn't get thanked enough by anybody, but Joe does a great job for us in organizing things. Coach Brock's another guy, standing in the back. Appreciate you, Coach, and all you do for helping us out with the hotels and everything you help out with. You know, everyone that helps out on campus, from admissions to financial aid, professors, you know, Fred Holmes, Dennis Hawkins, you know, people that make this whole recruiting process go a lot easier. Ruben's another one that, you know, gives his time when we ask. Samantha, and I can't think of Samantha's last name. I don't know her last name. Samantha is our gal who tirelessly, and I mean this, tirelessly comes in to help us clean up after our events. You know, she'll stay here till Sunday night and on Thursday nights and helps us, and I really appreciate her help. Bert Ruiz, another guy on campus that at the drop of a hat, he is there when we need him. If we need him to talk to somebody, there's no questions asked. He does it. Coach Estelle does the same thing. And I used the example last year where he stopped a practice to talk to one of our guys that wanted to talk to him about basketball. And we just have people. And I think it was like this. I wasn't here. Snake, you might have been here. 1959, the first championship they won. But I'm sure it was like this in 1959 because I know it's the way now. The people that, and I miss some people, and I'll keep on talking, but the people are what make this job where it can be a championship caliber athletic department, a championship caliber football program, and it's amazing. That's what we try to sell to our kids. Some alums I want to thank. I'll talk about as I go through talking about these kids, but it's amazing to me as we go up to schools and go into the athletic department, how many, whether they're the head coaches or assistant coaches, that are A&M Kingsville alums, A&I alums. When they graduated, when you go in there and they say that they were A&I alums or they're A&M Kingsville alums, right? But they're all same people. They all graduate as Javelinas, and it's amazing the help they give us. There's a few donors and alums that I really want to point out that make my life great as a head coach in terms of getting things done. A guy I've gotten to know very well, Harold Hayes. Harold is unbelievable in his support. Jim Brown's another one. Richard Ritchie and Jim Williams, and those are. And there's plenty more that I'd like to thank, but those four in particular, just make it where we can get things done around here. And lastly, thank my coaching staff. I'm the one up here standing, talking, getting my picture taken, which I don't like, but my coaching staff, they're the ones that get out there and they're on the front lines doing this stuff. I basically spend the month of January and really the whole month of January staying out on the road, going and kind of finishing up the months and months and months of work that they've done. And it's, these 35 guys that I'm going to talk about are really, it's my assistant coaches that do a tremendous job. Couple of stats before I start talking about these guys, just talking about our class. Right now, we've signed 35 high school athletes, and we've signed 5 transfers. There's 5 transfers that are on our campus right now. So, in total, there's 40 young men that are going to be part of our football program next year that were not part of the football program last year, which is a good thing because these are some good football players, some good student athletes, and they come from great homes, great families, and we're excited to have them be part of this. 24 of those 40 kids, or let's start with the high school kids, 24 of those 35 kids are from the Houston area. And that's always been since I've got here and long before I got here, but Houston has always been the spot where you really need to secure that talent there. And there's battles that we go against in terms of other teams in our conference and teams outside of our conference now. But if we are not right in the thick of things and not winning those battles, we all get a little bit disappointed because Houston is our footprint. That's Javelina Nation for us. We have 7 from the San Antonio area, which, if you draw a line kind of from San Antonio, go up a little bit to Austin, then back over to Houston, and then come down in the valley, you can kind of form a triangle. That's the Javelina footprint, what we talk about when we go out recruiting. And there's really no other areas outside that area that we need to go to. There's plenty of people that are capable of being tremendous students, being excellent athletes for us here in that footprint, and that's what we've concentrated on. Then we've got one kid that's from the area as well. I want to talk a little bit about the transfers first because those are the ones that are here on campus, and those are the ones that really in the grand scheme of things this year that we hope to hear their numbers called a lot because they've had some experience, whether it's junior college or 4-year universities, and to bring some of that experience onto our campus with their talent and in the classroom is exciting. First one I want to talk about is a quarterback that transferred to us from most recently Brigham Young University, BYU, and he's from Somerset High School. His name is Coy Detmer. If you guys have recognized that last name is kind of synonymous with excellent quarterback play. His grandfather, Sonny Detmer, is a legend. He's coached at San Antonio for a long time. He went down and coached at Mission down the valley for a while, and he's back up at Somerset as the head coach. We could take my assistant coaches and me and put our collective brains together, and I guarantee you Sonny Detmer knows more football. That's all he does. And I sat at a basketball game this year right with him, and I could just imagine his wife gets so driven crazy because all he does is talk about football. He's an excellent coach, an excellent father, excellent grandfather. But Coy, I actually played against Coy's dad. His dad was the starting quarterback at University of Colorado when I was starting quarterback at Colorado State. I'm not going to tell you what the score of that game was, but needless to say, Coy Sr. played in the NFL for about 12 years, and I did not. So I'll tell you which quarterback did a little better job of that game. So Coy he played at BYU, actually played some games this last year. As you could expect, a real smart kid. Unbelievable in terms of his knowledge. We're looking forward to what Coy can do. Next transfer I want to talk about, a kid named Peyton Hendricks. He's coming to us this is actually going to be his third school as far as four-year schools. He's a graduate student, and he started off his career at Texas Tech, where he played at Texas Tech. He's a safety. He transferred to Sam Houston. He's graduated, and he's going to play for us for a year. He's 6'3", 210-pound safety. He's like those guys you see. He's out running around for us early morning workouts right now. It's what you want a safety to look like. And I haven't seen him play on the field yet for us, but he played in the Big 12 as a freshman, sophomore. So I know this kid can play, and I'm excited to see what he does for us. One of our big weaknesses, I thought, on our team last year that we really had to address, especially with transfers, was our offensive line. And we signed two of them. The first one I want to talk about is Daren Landers. He's a junior college transfer out of Tyler here in the state of Texas. He is at Madison High School up in the Dallas area. 6'2", 290-pound interior offensive lineman. And the thing you'll see about Daren is how physical that kid is. He gets after it. He's not afraid of contact. He's a great run-blocking guy. Another thing that you'll like about him as you get to know him, he's a personable kid, and he's a great leader. I mean, he's already he's not afraid to take charge of things and talk to people and get them going in the right direction. Ronnie Rogers is the next offensive line transfer, and Ronnie is a kid that went to Alamo Heights High School up in San Antonio. They went to Navarro Junior College, and we're getting him from Navarro. He's a little longer than Daren. He's a kid that can play both the interior offensive line as well as tackle. He's 6'3", 280-pound guy, athletic, great feet. So we're looking forward to those two helping us out on the offensive line. The other area that I think we need to get better at is in the secondary, and Gerard Wesley is a kid that's going to help us there. He's a kid that initially is from a high school, Wakena High School in Orlando, Florida, and then he went to Pierce Junior College out in the Los Angeles, California area. And so we were able to use some of our contacts, and we actually went out there and did some recruiting out in the California area. And this kid, he's what you want also in the secondary. A 6-foot-tall, 175-pound corner that's long. He's got long arms. He'll be able to jam a guy at the line of scrimmage. He's got a lot of athleticism and can run. So looking forward to what he can do. And so those are I kind of lied. No, that's 5. There we go. So 5 transfers. All right. Let's start talking about high school guys. And we're going to go in order here, and I think I've got my little clicker, see if it works. First guy up there, signed. That's good. I like to see those things. Signed. Jared Ariano. All right, he's an offensive lineman out of Klein Collins. Jared's second-team All-District. He's an academic All-State guy, which we like to have around here. When you meet this guy, he's very personable. He'll smile at you. He'll talk with you. He's athletic and long, which as an offensive lineman we'd like to have. He's a guy that could probably play all 5 positions on the offensive line, tackle or guard especially. Next guy I want to talk about, Derek Bailey. All right, Derek Bailey's he's a linebacker out of Sprang. Say that right, Ronnie? Spring, Texas. All right. Spelled S-P-R-I-N-G, but I'm told I'm supposed to say Spring. All right. So Spring, Texas. Derek, you look at him. He is a guy, when you watch him on film, loves to hit people. All right. And he's athletic, and he goes sideline to sideline. He was a first-team all-district kid, very athletic, very physical, and Coach Palmer was a linebacker at Sprang High School, and he made sure I wrote this down. He's another in the long line of great linebackers out of Sprang High School. So he is. And that's not a joke. That is true. We're excited to have Derek. All right, next guy, Matt Banda. Matt Banda's academic all-state kid. Another one. He's an all-district kid. He's team captain. When you watch Matt play on film is how, and it's a skill that not a lot of people have these days. He is a great open field tackler. And he has a lot of that stuff on his film where he's making tackles in the open field, and he does well with that. We look forward to having him. He's a long safety. All right. Next guy, Ishmael Brown Bryant. And one other thing I didn't mention, we've got, I think in our signing class, I believe, we got 6 kids that are state champions in the state of Texas at the biggest level. 3 kids from North Shore High School and 3 kids from Katy. Ishmael's the first one I want to talk about from North Shore. And you talk to anybody that played North Shore this year about their talent, and the first thing they talk about is their linebacking core. All right? Everybody says how great North Shore's linebackers were. Ishmael is the best linebacker they had on their team. And so I think we got the best guy to help us get what we need to have done as far as linebackers. He can play inside. He can play outside. He's fast. Looking forward to Ishmael. He's a first-team all-district kid. Next guy, Jared Campbell. And one other name I didn't mention as far as guys that helped us, Ryan Dahl. And this is the first one that is going to be a multi-sport guy for us. Potentially, he's still got to get a time that Coach Dahl loves, but Coach Dahl's got his eye on him now. He's a first-team all-district wide receiver. He runs hurdles and track, both the hurdle events, and he's got some times that have piqued Coach Dahl's interest, so we're looking forward to him being a multi-sport guy here. Very explosive. And when you watch his tape, he attacks the football. A lot of times you watch high school receivers where they let the ball come into their body. He goes and gets the ball, and I'm excited about him because he's got the athleticism and he's got the ability to go get the football. All right, next guy, D'Antoine Carter. All right, D'Antoine, and we've got a few of these guys on our team that on the signing class that were offered scholarships at D1 places. All right. And whether it's FBS or FCS, we had several of these guys that had offers. D'Antoine is a guy that if he would have been healthy all last year, he got hurt. He would have not looking our way. He would have not looked our way when we came knocking. But as it turns out, there are a lot of schools that came knocking, and Coach May did a great job with him, kid out of Pearland, which we've been trying hard for the last 4 years, 4 recruiting classes to get kids out of Pearland. We're finally knocking down that door. That's a great football program. D'Antoine is a great one. He's tall, he's physical, and he's another one of those linebackers which you like. One of the things you should like to hear, a guy can run sideline to sideline and beat the ball carrier sideline to sideline. And that's a good trait to have as a linebacker. All right, next kid, Cameron Cawthon. Cameron's a quarterback that we signed out of a fairly new school in the Houston area, Barbers Hill. All right, he was the all-area MVP. He's one of the first ones that I talk about that was in our camp. We saw him in person, which as any position, that helps a ton to be able to see a kid in person and see what they can do so you can visualize how they fit into your system rather than just watching film, but especially a quarterback. Fred, you sitting back there in the back, you and I could go film you right now. We could put a tape together to make you look like a good quarterback, all right? Maybe Johnny says no, but I think we could. Quarterbacks, it's really one of those positions where you got to see a guy in person. And it helps so much to see a guy the way his release is. When you coach him and put him through drills, the way he's composed and gets things. And so having a guy like Cameron come on our campus, he was a 2-year captain, very well coached. His coach, Coach Westerberg, has been at Barbers Hill, I think, for 2 or 3 years now. He was the head coach up at Allen, Texas, when they had that big, long winning streak and won all kinds of state championships. So he's been very, very well coached. and we look forward to having a kid caliber Cameron come down and play quarterback for us. Next kid, Quentin Cole. Another one of those places that we've been trying hard to knock down the door at is up in Lufkin. And even though Lufkin's not part of Houston, we kind of count that into because our coach that one of our coaches that recruits Houston goes up to Lufkin and has been trying to get kids down here. Quentin's our first one out of Lufkin. He's a first-team all-district kid. Something that tells you about Quentin, he's an offensive lineman. Lufkin, the city of Lufkin gives an annual award for I can't remember the name of the award, but it's a character award. All right, for the high school athlete, male or female, that has the most character in terms of the things they do on campus, off campus, the way they hold themselves accountable things, and he won that award. So it says a lot about what Quentin's all about. He's another offensive lineman that I think can play inside and outside. A very good football player. Looking forward to having. Next guy up, Amos Coleman. All right, Amos, first-team all-district safety out of Elsick High School. He's long, athletic. He runs sprints on the track team, and he's a guy that has inquired about running track for us, and he can definitely do it. Thing I love about Amos, though, is just like Peyton, our transfer from Texas Tech. This kid's long. He's not quite 6'3" like Peyton, but he's close and he's long and he's athletic. He goes and attacks the ball, and he probably plays bigger than what he is. Next kid up, Zion Davis. All right, Coach Search has done a nice job of recruiting down in the Texas City area, and we got 3 kids out of Texas City High School this year, and he's the first one. He's a corner, first-team all-district. And I've been saying this a lot about some of our guys, long and athletic. That's really what you want to have at those positions: safety, corner, guys that can make up ground based on their length. Because just watch it. Even the Super Bowl we watched last Sunday. Those pros that are getting paid millions and millions of dollars, they're going to get beat at times. All right, but when you have length and athleticism to make up that ground, that's a good thing to have. He's a physical kid too, as far as playing corner. His coach, Coach Palmer, former Javelina, and so we like to have those guys because they help us out in getting kids here. Next kid up, Thomas Davis. We battled against a lot of people for all these kids, but Thomas Davis he's a corner out of North Shore that we really battled against a lot of different schools, and fired up that Thomas chose to come play for us. He's an all-district kid, fast, athletic. He holds North Shore, which you think about, you go up and just go in the football building and look at the athletes that have been in North Shore. And it's not it's a relatively new high school. Probably in the mid-90s, I think, is when they opened up. I could be wrong on that, but that's when they start their board. He holds the school record for long jump. He went 24-3. Coach Dahl is already committed to have this guy on his team to be a long jumper for us, and so he's going to compete in track as well, and he'll probably do some of the running events as well. So Thomas is a very good athlete. We're looking forward to him. Next guy up, Heath Dunn out of Polk High School. He's an academic all-state kid, all-district. Polk. Yeah, P-O-T-H. Just a little school. We'll go anywhere now. I told you that footprint, if there's a kid in that footprint, we'll go anywhere. Listen to this, though. By the time he's done this spring, when he graduates, he will have 19 varsity letters on his jacket. He's done everything. He's played baseball, track, football, basketball. Is that right, Coach? Yeah, that's all right. But Heath is going to play tight end for us. And you guys have watched us play. You know that tight end is a big key position for us in the offense. Heath is a good one. He's 6'3". Right now he's probably 6'3", 210 because he's playing basketball. He's going to get bigger. Comes from an athletic family, and Coach Cundiff and I went dinner with them, and all they did was talk about sports. And he has a sister that played at Oklahoma for volleyball, so they've got some athleticism in that family. Looking forward to having Heath be a tight end for us. Next kid up, Adam Elliott out of Splendora High School, a second-team all-area guy. He's going to be an inside backer for us. He loves to attack the football. He's a downhill type of guy. He's a true middle linebacker, snot coming out of his nose and hitting people and not caring about it. And so we're looking forward to Adam. He was the top guy on our inside linebacker board as we were looking at people. Excited about Adam. Daryl French, a local kid for us out of Sinton High School. Daryl, he will win the personality award as far as just the guy that you will laugh the most at. This kid's he's always goofing off. He's got jokes, but I tell you what, he is not goofing off on the football field. He makes plays. He can start for us at defensive end. We're recruiting him as a we sign him as a defensive end. He can play tight end for us. I know the offensive coaches are itching to see him catch a ball for us as well. But we're going to start him at defensive end. He led the district in sacks. He was first team all-district, and he's also second team all-state. And so a very good football player out of Sinton High School. Next kid up, Trey Glasgow. All right, Trey is a corner for us, and he's another one of those kids that came to our camp. He's actually the first player on our list of signees that committed to us. He committed to us early, kid out of Pearland High School. He's a great leader. Something that Trey did that I get fired up about when kids start doing this is because he was our earliest commit, he started this thing, Snake. You know what Twitter is? Yeah, you do. Yeah, I didn't know what Twitter was for a while there, but these kids know what Twitter is, believe me. And he started up this group Twitter group of all the kids that were getting recruited by us, and especially the ones that had committed to us. And all they're doing is going back and forth. You know, their hashtag on that is Party in the Ville. So you know, if you see Party in the Ville, you know those are kids that are coming to the Ville. They call Kingsville the Ville now. So Party in the Ville, and he was the one that led that thing. He started that group up, and so Trey's a very good athlete. So we look forward to him being a corner for us. Alec Gonzalez, second quarterback that we're signing in this class, a kid out of Galena Park, strong and tall, physical kid that stands in the pocket. He's what you would call a prototypical pro-style quarterback. He makes all the throws. Comes from a family that's a bunch of athletes. Some of his accolades: he's second team all-district, two-time academic all-state. Thing I like with quarterbacks is he was a 2-year team captain, and things are voted on by their team. And so we're looking forward to Alec and his productivity. Kalen Henley is the next guy out of Elsick High School, linebacker, 3-year team captain. You think about that, a sophomore getting voted team captain on a big football team in Houston. That says something about the kid's character. Two-time all-district. Thing that you watch on film with Kalen, he's like a magnet to the football. I mean, he goes and finds the football and makes plays. Looking forward to him being a linebacker for us. Next kid up, Zach Henry out of Texas City, another Texas City kid. 3-time first-team all-district kid. So he was making plays and being productive as a sophomore, and he's a dual sport guy. He plays basketball at Texas City and does very well at that also. Very athletic. You watch his film, and athletic, runs from sideline to sideline, but a lot of times you see those kids that are athletic, they don't want to stick their nose in and get physical, and that's not Zach. Zach's going to get after. He loves contact. Excited to have Zach be in our team here. All right. Next guy up, Jalen Hughes, wide receiver out of O'Connor High School, first team all-area kid. He had 15 touchdowns on the year. He was really, really productive. I saw him in person this year. One of the games I came and watched during the playoffs. I told Coach Molesky. Coach Molesky is his coach in high school there at O'Connor, and went and watched this kid play. And very good player. He's a receiver that can play on the outside. He can play on the inside, catch the bubble screen and get you yards there. He can play on the outside and stretch the field. Looking forward to having Jalen, seeing what he can do. The thing that you like, and it's a tribute to the way he was coached in high school by Coach Molesky, is he is not afraid to stick his nose in and block people. And that's, as a wide receiver, that's not a trait that everybody's coached up to do, especially in high school, is get in there and get physical in the blocking game. And he does that. So we're excited about Jalen. Next guy up, Karch Casper. Oh, let me hit the button. There we go. Is that Karch? All right. Karch Casper. Anybody ever hear anybody first name Karch? Karch Karai. That's exactly right. That was what I said. And turns out he was actually named after Karch Karai. His mom and dad are volleyball players and volleyball fans, and so he was named after Karch Karai. But Karch Casper he's a punter. And I talked about offensive line and defensive back, things that we really need to work on from our last season. Punting, is something that was somewhat of an adventure for us this year. And it was something that we needed to address immediately. And we looked at transfers. We looked at high school kids. Karch is if you know who Chris Saylor is a guy who runs all the punting and kicking camps throughout the country. And everybody that wants to get there, wants to get noticed as either a punter, a kicker, punter especially, they go to Chris Saylor's camps. And he sees everybody across the country, and he gives them stars. And so, you see on Rivals gives people stars. They're 5-star guy, 4-star guy. Karch is a 4.5-star punter on Chris Saylor's grading system. And Karch was the number 65 ranked punter in the whole country. And so we're really happy to have Karch. He's also going to be the guy that probably will be our kickoff guy. Julio, we got one more year of Julio, and Julio is money as the field goal guy, PAT guy. But Karch is going to be a guy that's going to be able to drive the ball through the end zone. And so he may be doing some of that as well. So looking forward to having Karch. Next guy up, John Kennedy. JFK, those are his initials, named after the Prez. All right, John Kennedy is an offensive lineman from Westfield High School. Tell me if I'm wrong, Coach Palmer. This is the first kid we've had from Westfield.
Justin Johnson.
Oh, Justin Johnson. That's right. He kind of transferred down. Yeah. Okay. First signee from Westfield. And Westfield is a great program there, just north of Houston. And they're known for linemen, both offensively and defensively. And to get a kid that's done well at Westfield, he's first team all-district. He was second team all-Houston. Okay, so he's a kid that was productive there at Westfield. Physical football player. Looking forward to John Kennedy being a guy on our offensive line for a long time here. All right, next guy up, Jacob Leiter. Jacob is a tight end out of Katy High School, another one of those state championship guys. We knew who Jacob was, but I spent the weekend up in Houston going to football games over the Thanksgiving break, and I went and saw Jacob play in the stadium there in NRG, and he ended up catching 2 touchdowns that game and got all over the team that they were playing in terms of the blocking. And I was calling Coach Thomas the whole time, saying, "Hey, who's this guy? What does he do? What do we got? Do we have a chance at this guy?" Because the way he played that game. I would have never thought we had a chance because he's big, physical. He's a great tight end, and so again that position is important for us. He's a true Y in my mind for us. And what a Y is, he's that guy that always has his hand on the ground. You watch us play our second tight end. Sometimes that guy that goes in motion, he stands up sometimes, but the Y is the one that's got his hand on the ground and is an extension of the offensive line. And this kid can do it as well as go catch some balls. Looking forward to having Jacob. Nicholas Milburn. All right. Nicholas his uncle played here, and his cousin plays for us now as well. So he's got some people that know about A&M Kingsville and have played here, and he's been to a few games. He was a second team all-district. Here's the thing with Nicholas now. He's long and he's tall. He was in an offense that did not utilize a wide receiver. So tell you what, though, he knows how to block because of that. But he's got a huge upside because he's long, he's fast, he's athletic. And the thing that really gets me fired up, he's like his brother or his cousin Devin that's here on our football team. He's a 3.7 GPA guy. So he's going to do it in the classroom, and we're not going to have to chase him around. And because he's smart, we ask our receivers to do probably a little bit more than most teams in terms of where they split and the depth of their routes and all the things that we ask our receivers to do. So it's good to have a smart guy. Looking forward to Nicholas. Josh Oglesby. Josh is a kid. He's a running back out of Katy High School. He's a 10.600 guy, so very fast. Averaged 8 yards per carry as a running back. He's second team all district there. Explosive. The thing that this time last year, really actually May when we went out and did our spring recruiting, he just got offered by and was committed to BYU. And he was going to BYU, and he got offered by some other schools, and he said, "No, I'm going to BYU." Well, there's a little coaching change in December at BYU, and Josh kind of felt like he was getting lost in the shuffle there with the new offensive coordinator and things, and so he reopened his commitment or his recruitment, and just so happened it's kind of late to get involved with any other Division I schools, and we rode this thing to the wire. He's one of the kids that just committed to us on Monday because he was waiting to see if Division I was going to make an offer on him, and they didn't. We're real happy to have Josh. He's a kid that's going to be a return guy for us. Like I said, he's going to be in the backfield, 8 yards per carry type of guy. He catches the ball out of the backfield. Looking forward to seeing what Josh can do. His dad played in the NFL for a while as well. In fact, his dad, what's the record his dad holds still? Yeah, he holds a record for TCU. He's a running back, most yards receiving by a running back. And they keep those records. Oh, John's got that record. Next guy up, Kalen Roberts, from receiver out of CE King. My notes are going away. Hold on. He's a wide receiver out of CE King. That is another thing that you like about these guys. He's long. He goes and gets the football, and he's athletic. And I know I sound redundant in talking about some of these guys, but that's exactly what he is. He's got good length. And our ex-receiver, something that since I've been a Division II coach, I've been a Division II coach for 5 years now. Every year my ex-receiver has been first-team all-conference. And so we know how to get the ball to our ex-receiver, and he kind of fits the mold of the guy that's going to be that weak-side guy that's going to be able to handle one-on-one matchups and get physical with people. Next guy up, another guy we're real fired up to have, Keyshawn Rowe out of Katy High School in Katy, Texas. Keyshawn, again, he's like Josh, both from the same school. Keyshawn just committed to us. He was committed to the University of New Mexico. He's a first-team All-State guy as a returner. He's an All-State guy as a corner. You talk to Coach Joseph up there, and Coach Joseph will tell you he's one of the top players he had this year in a team that went really deep in the playoffs, and he went to the semifinals this year. He had 9 interceptions this year, and the stat that kind of tells you what type of player Keyshawn is he had 100 tackles as a corner. And so most of the time those corners, they don't want to get involved in tackling. The guy that has 9 interceptions also had 100 tackles. Tells me that he's a kid that, even without watching his film, just looking at those 2 stats, he's going to be a kid that's going to go hard for you. Because those corners, if they get 9 interceptions, they're like the guys that don't like to go tackle. He does both. And so Keyshawn is going to be a guy that's going to be able to help us out immediately. Next guy up, another state champ here, Jalen Rudolph from out of North Shore. He's a defensive end. Another kid that came to our camp. Here's what he is. He is a pass rushing machine. He goes and gets the quarterback. Got a great motor, uses his hands well. And I think the 3 years I've been here, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but I think we've led our conference. I know the last 2 years for sure, we led our conference in sacks. And he's a guy that's going to help with that tradition of getting the announcer to say another $800 for the sack club. And we like those guys. All right. Next guy up, Jacoby Shelton, a long corner out of Dawson High School. There in the Pearland area. He's a first-team all-district guy. He had 4 interceptions, and of those 4 interceptions, he returned 2 for touchdowns, so he can do something after the catch. He's going to have a chance to run track for us as well. He runs a 10.5 300, and he's in 21.6 in the 200. So Coach Dahl's fired up about having him be a guy that's going to do some things on the track for us as well. Next guy up at O'Connor High School is the center out of O'Connor. His name's Evan Simonis. 2-year first-team all-district kid. And what you need to have with the center is you need to have a guy that's smart. Because the center is a guy that looks at the defense, makes the call, and the calls just kind of fan out from him. So he makes a call, the guard makes a call, then the tackle makes a call. But it's all based on what the center calls. And he's a smart kid. Here's a stat that you love to have. And, again, he's coached by Coach Molesky. Here's a stat that you love to have for an offensive lineman. 2 years as starting center, gave up 0 sacks. And so that's something that we like. We're looking forward to Evan. Next guy up, Brandon Smith out of Ronald Reagan High School. All right, I think this is funny, but I don't know if anybody else does. When I was in high school, Ronald Reagan was the president, and I thought John F. Kennedy, the school that was named John F. Kennedy, that was down the city of San Diego. John F. Kennedy lived so long ago, and now the president that was the president when I was in high school has a high school named after him. So that's funny to me. Yeah. So he's out of Reagan High School in San Antonio, where Coach Hamilton there is a former Javelina and has done a nice job helping us out with people. Brandon was a first-team All-District kid. He played in the San Antonio All-Star game, which is a very select group of kids that get to do that. Smart. He's going to get a lot of presidential scholarship help because so he's getting a lot of money through football scholarship as well as what he's done academically in his test scores. So we love guys like that. Next guy up, Justin Stevenson out of Taft High School in San Antonio. Justin was committed till about a week ago to the U.S. Naval Academy. He's a 2-star recruit. He's a running back, and the Naval Academy was recruiting him. He's a taller kid, got some speed, kind of a slashing type of running back. But a few combinations of why he's coming here instead of the Naval Academy. I really don't care. I'm just glad he's here. He's a good football player, and we look forward to him doing a lot of good things for us on the football field. It's a good get for us. Next kid up, Dre Taylor out of Sharpstown, up in the Houston area. And I'm telling you, this kid is like a lot of kids. There's stories to why they're coming to A&M Kingsville and not bigger Division I schools. And this kid certainly has a story. He's only played 1 year in the state of Texas. Okay, so he transferred here, I think in the summertime, really. It was actually the spring semester, but he transferred here, played 1 year at Sharpstown. He was the area newcomer of the year, but he was transferred from Pennsylvania. Nobody in Texas knew who he was. Nobody that recruits Texas knew who he was. And so, you watch his film and you say, man, how do we have a shot at this kid? And it's because nobody knew who this kid was. And he went to, Sharpstown's not a program that gets heavily recruited like a Katy, Texas, or Pearland or somewhere else where there are a lot of schools go in and see him. And so he's a kid that, you keep your eye on him. He's going to make a lot of plays for us because he is a kid that, and these were his words. He went up to Pennsylvania. He started playing football in Pennsylvania, and I asked him what the difference between Pennsylvania football and Texas football was because they're both, people in Pennsylvania pride themselves on their high school football. And he said, Coach, it's the way they play physical football in Pennsylvania. They hit you, and they hit you, and they hit you. And I was there my first year. I was 135 pounds, and I decided I was going to get broken in two if I didn't start putting on weight. And so he got after in the weight room, and he's a good, strong, physical kid now. And he brought that physical nature ball down to Texas. And you watch his film, and that's the thing you notice is he's going to hit you. Next kid up, Adam Tillman, wide receiver out of Pearland. Another kid that, if he'd have played more football in high school, we probably wouldn't have had a shot at him. But he only played 1 year of varsity football at Pearland. He's second-team all-district doing that. He's another kid that's going to play an outside receiver for us. He's not a slot. He's an outside guy. He's got some length, and he goes and attacks the ball. Last guy I'm going to talk about today is Jadarius White, corner out of Klein Oak High School up there in the Houston area. Second-team all-district kid. He's not the tallest kid, and he's not short by any means, but he's not the tallest kid, but he's got long arms. And so, again, you talk about that length that he brings to the table as a cornerback, and we like that. He's fast as well. He runs sprints and track, and we'd like to talk about doing some of that stuff here when he gets here. So I think we got one more kid that I'm not going to talk about yet because he hasn't signed with us, but so there should be – we talked about 35 plus the transfers. We got one more kid that will probably be in the papers tomorrow. But we're really excited. And this time last year, coming off a 9-3 season where, we had a lot of good momentum. To be honest with you, we signed a very good class, but we lost some kids that I didn't think we should lose. This year, I'm really fired up about this recruiting class. We addressed our needs, and we're still going to go out and address our needs at some positions, but our offensive line, our defensive backs, were things that we really need to work on. Our punter, all the positions that we signed are great players, but I know we addressed those needs that we got to fix. But we're really excited about this. Athletic, fast, physical group of kids that love Texas A&M Kingsville. So with that, I'll open up to any questions that you might have about the signing class or any of the transfers. Anybody got anything? Nothing, Snake?
Those kids in Pearland, they don't have a barber up there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they think that's going to help them be a little bit more protected with their helmets, a little extra cushion, extra padding. There you go. Yeah, we like that.
Coach, was there one common thing or one common thread that you noticed among almost all or most of the kids that you recruited that you wanted to bring into this program?
You know what, the thing that we look for, and there's a lot of things that are great about this university and a lot of things that are great about this football program. There are some things that need to get better. And you know, I'm not going to go into those, but when you recruit kids that they think about those things that aren't the things that matter, I don't like that. And I'll just give you an example, and I tell this to kids all the time. I think 0 minutes a day about the locker room that I dressed in when I was at Colorado State. But I call the guy I dressed next to every other day. You know, it's the people that make the place special. And that's what we try and find. And through the process our coaches go through and meeting kids on campus, talking with them, you know, talking with their principal, their teachers, their janitors, whoever we can talk to about these kids. And then we get them down here and they're with us, and then they go out with our players that are on campus, their hosts. That's the thing we want to get out of. You know, can this kid enjoy the things that make this place special? And I think each of these kids, they recognize that, and that's what I like. I like recruiting kids that want to be here because they want to have the experience with the people that make this place special.
Obviously, this isn't your first National Signing Day. It's the same way for most of your coaches, but the feeling of how similar is the feeling to, say, your first one, to being on the phone with these kids and having them be excited about coming to the university that you're the coach at?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the difference from our first year to this year, obviously we all know the area much better. I mean, I hadn't lived a day in Texas when I took this job, and some of the coaches I brought down here with me, the same thing could be said. So we've obviously learned the areas. We've made relationships with coaches, and you know, I talked to like Pearland High School. We've been working for 4 years to try and get kids out of Pearland. Now we're starting to get our foot in the door. You know, there's schools out there that are like that you know, we've built the relationships, and so I think that's the biggest difference, is that we're starting to get into be able to see it. You know, something that made me fired up, and it just tells you about this individual, but it also tells you about what he thinks of this university. I was up at Katy High School, all right, and Coach Gary Joseph, unbelievable coach, has been there for such a long time, and we've signed some kids out of Katy because he liked the relationship that we've established with him. Well, I went and watched them doing their PE period, and there were two coaches from the University of Tennessee there, and they were standing to the left of me, and the first person that Coach Joseph came and talked to was me, and that was neat that he recognized what we are doing for his kids, you know. And then obviously he talked longer with the Tennessee guys because I was short and to the point. But he came and talked to me, and you know, and I think we're like that with a lot of the high schools that we've gone to, because we, you know, getting back to the resources that we were given, we're able to spring recruit the right way. You know, when I was at Colorado State Pueblo, you know, we didn't have the type of recruiting budget to go do a week or two in May to go recruit. And, you know, you did it on the phone, and that's how a lot of schools that are our level do it. But you know, we're able to go out and do that, and it pays.
How much of the recruitment of the job you did and the coach you do in recruiting when talking to these players is finding out how willing they are to do whatever it takes to contribute to the program, whether that's playing on special teams or playing a different position or trying things they might have been unfamiliar with in high school?
Yeah, I mean, that's everything. You try to project those things. You know, like a kid like Keyshawn Rowe is an easy one because he's a first-team All-State returner. But then, you know, you project some of the other guys, the way that they go sideline to sideline as linebackers. They project very easily to be guys that can go down on punts and kickoffs and do things for you. And I think each of these guys that we talked about, they're not necessarily the flash guys. They're guys that don't mind being lunch pail guys that you know, go to work, and that's what our philosophy is as a football program, and these guys buy into that.
What should we have offensive line-wise that's coming off a red shirt?
We've got a few. The two Horn cousins, you know, Moses and John, are both coming off. Help me out, Coach Sersha. Yeah, Kyle Quino, who's at a Klein Oak. Klein Oak. Yeah, Jorge. I mean, we've got some guys that are going to be able to help us out there. And I know I'm missing some, but we signed a pretty good offensive line class last year, and you know, obviously you don't want to have a guy be counted on to be a starter as a freshman, but I think the way our offensive line is, I think some of those guys may be asked to play a lot, so it's good.
The next question is, it's tough, I know, and even talking to some players, you know, they said, well, I wanted to start as a freshman, but I'm glad now that I didn't.
Yeah.
I got that extra year.
Yeah.
And I noticed in the national championship game, I believe, this year, there was 2 freshmen quarterbacks in each of those 2 teams.
Right.
Which is a rarity. But if we ever have, like I said, Johnny Bailey, they didn't give kids in those days, you know, freshmen.
Yeah.
Who couldn't win the Harlan Hill, which was arguably the best year of his 4.
Right.
And he wound up winning 3, but he came in as a freshman. You don't have that happen too often, do you?
Nah, you don't. But this happens more and more, like you pointed out. You know, at the end of the day, it's best to redshirt. It's best for the program. It's best for the kids because, like you said, they get another year to, you know, get acclimated to college life. But you know, in this day and age where, you know, everybody wants championships and everything's so scrutinized now because of social media. You know, everything's in the eye of everybody now. You know, you got to put the best people out on the field. You know, if your best, and I tell the kids this all the time, if our 22 best players are true freshmen, I'm going to play 22 true freshmen. Because we want to put the best people out on the field that are going to give us a chance to win.
Coach, as you were naming these players, these big players, one player that stands out to me is Coy Detmer.
Mm-hmm.
How good is Coy Detmer, and what does he bring to the table?
You know what he brings? The first thing he brings to the table is intelligent. You know, which you talk about, and I mentioned it as I was talking. There's really 2 positions on offense that you've got. I mean, you have no choice but to be smart, or you can't play that position. Center is one, and quarterback's the other. You know, you can make things happen with kids. You know, if you got a certain running back that, you know, it might be academically challenged, and if you just say, all right, we're going to pitch you the ball and you run that way, you know, you can get stuff done on that. But quarterback and center, you really can't do that. You've got to have some intelligent guys. And so Coy, that's the first thing he does. He brings, I mean, he's been coached since he was a baby by Sonny Detmer. You know, Sonny Detmer, you can argue all you want. He's one of the top coaches in the history of Texas high school football, especially as an offensive mind. You know, he's got a son that won the Heisman Trophy, and it wasn't because he threw the ball 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's because he was smart and got the ball out on time and did things right. And Coy, his other son that played in the NFL for, you know, 10, 12 years, the same thing. He was not the most athletically gifted, not that he couldn't throw the ball, but, you know, he was smart. And I think Coy Jr., they call him Little Coy. So, you know, if you see somebody in a game on Saturday, you hear him talk about Little Coy, probably a Detmer. All right, so they call him Lil Coy, but he's the same way. He's very intelligent. He's not the tallest kid. He's probably about 5'11", 6 feet tall, but he throws the ball now. I mean, he spins it and he puts it where it needs to be. Tremendous arm talent for a kid his size, but you know, leadership and smarts what he brings. You know what, and I need to do a better job as a head coach. The first thing I expect is them to, as freshmen, buy into being students. And I didn't do a good enough job with our freshman class this year. And you know, now I got to jump some of these guys into gear and get them going. So the first thing I want them to be able to understand is that, and I talk to every single one of them. You know, coming to college is not like high school, man. It's you know. You can pass your history exam in high school by just going to class. You can't do that in college. You got to understand that, you know, you got to be a student. So that's my number one expectation of those guys. Now, if there's a player, and I think we've got several candidates of this recruiting class, but if there's a player that can play right away for us, then we'd love them to be very successful and very productive for us. But the first thing I want these guys to understand is they've got to be students.
You said that when we travel to Houston and other places in Texas, the Javelina brand is the same now and again.
Mhm.
Have you noticed a change of how the Javelina brand is recognized, especially in the Houston area and other areas? It used to be the prime recruiting spot back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah.
Is it back, or are we there?
Well, we're getting there, definitely, and I think, and it's not an indictment against anybody, but I think there was a few years around here where the recruiting emphasis was more on junior college kids than high school kids, and there wasn't as much time spent in high schools. And whether you're going to recruit high schools or junior colleges, we all have our opinions, but if you still need to make connections with the high school coaches, because you're gonna, I mean, you gotta sign a certain number of high school kids. And I think the biggest thing, kind of answering your question, is that our coaches, starting in May when we go and do our spring recruiting all through the year, they're a presence in the schools, and the coaches and the kids know who we are because our coaches get out and do their work.
Any other questions for Coach Wilkins?
Luis Lopez is back. Luis Lopez is back. If you want to supply some tutors for him in every one of his classes, I'd be open to have that. So we make sure that he's here and ready to go in the fall. Yeah. I didn't laugh when I said that. That's exactly right. So no, we're excited to have Luis. He's out running, and he's looking. If you can believe it, he's looking better than he ever has. I mean, the time he had off served him well in terms of he had some beat up knees a little bit, and he's healthy and he's doing well. I'm excited to have him around.
I forget how he came on in the last quarter of the bowl game.
Yeah.
I mean, just like a wild man.
Well, there's a few games there, and the way we played ball that year, you can just tell by the fourth quarter that we were wearing teams down, and he was a big part of that. Yeah, no doubt.
Reminded me of a bowling ball going down the alley.
Yeah.
Bobby's flying.
Yeah. So,
That may be the best news we've heard.
yeah, there you go. I appreciate it. Well, that is good. He has one more year. One more year. Yeah. Anything else? All right, appreciate it.